Good day, doodlers. Welcome to Draw Cartoons, which recently hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm over the moon and I'm so grateful for the support of my viewers. You guys really are top draw. As requested, in celebration of this milestone, I'm going to show you how to draw the mascot of this channel, DC. Shout out to Xavier for suggesting this. I hope you enjoy it. As always, you're going to need a pencil, paper, an eraser, and a Sharpie to go over your sketch with. Let's go! Let's get started. But first, if you want to learn to draw the fast and easy way, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. Let's begin. So let's begin the way we usually do. Let's start with the head. So start off by drawing a nice even circle. Make it as circular as you can. Okay, and then when you've done that, cut it in half down the middle, and we're going to carry on like we always do into that lollipop shape that we talk about. We're going to carry on to about this sort of height here. This dictates exactly how tall our character is going to be. When you get to there, just draw a line either side of it for the floor. That's the floor our character is going to be stood on. So let's build up the body. So this is the head. So let's come down a little bit either side of this middle guideline here for the neck. When you've drawn that, we'll draw a line across, just meeting them together like that, before drawing almost like a box shape that comes down, but it goes out a little bit as well, if you see that. Like it's further out here than it is here. And obviously we need to do that on both sides. So if I just do that over here, and we're not gonna go any further than about the halfway line of this central guideline, which is about here, okay? So if you are measuring from here to here, that's about the halfway mark. So just close off your box there. It's a little bit wider at the bottom than it is at the top. And we're gonna do the same, but like mirrored. So it's wider at the hips than it is at the top or the bottom. We end up with this shape here that's kind of wider in the middle altogether than it is at the top or the bottom. So once we've drawn that line in, we can just draw some shapes out for the feet. It just kind of goes up a little bit before coming down. I wouldn't go any further than that along for the feet. Okay, so once we've drawn that, we'll quickly draw in some guidelines for the arms, just coming out of these shoulders here. I'm going to give them a very, very slight curve away from the body, but mostly kind of going down. That's just kind of the shape for the arms that I want to go for here. And we've kind of got the overall kind of skeleton of our character already going here, so we'll just kind of jump right in and start drawing the face. So to do that, we're going to cut the head in half again, but this time we're going to do it across the middle. We do this in quite a lot of our tutorials, but it's just it's one of those really useful techniques you can use on pretty much any drawing. Just kind of cut the head into 4 slices of pizza. So with all of the pieces in place, we can actually just kind of go ahead and draw our character now. So we'll start with the nose, which is a small upside down triangle that goes right across that middle guideline and sits underneath the guideline going right across the center of the face, this horizontal one. Just kind of sits there. And now that we've got the nose in place, because it's in the middle of the face, we can kind of draw the rest in around it. So let's start with the mouth. So we'll draw a small curve here on this side of the face, and then one here. These are the edges of his mouth, where his cheeks are, and we'll come away from this and we'll curve it right underneath his nose and carry on to the other side like that. Make sure those lines kind of meet up there. And then a second line that's a bit more dramatic in shape. It swings all the way down, close to his chin, and then comes back up and gets back to that line we drew in the first place. Once you've drawn that, we'll give him a big cheeky grin, and to do that we're going to draw his teeth kind of clenched together. So you can start by coming away from this line here, dipping down for a fang, because cats do have long fangs, and then we'll just draw across to here until we have to draw another fang, and then close it off against the side of the mouth, just like that. So now for the eyes. One way I like to draw eyes, because he's smiling, we're actually going to draw his cheeks kind of bunched up under his eyes. So to do that, I'm going to draw a curve here near the nose, and it goes up over the mouth like that. And then we're going to draw a big kind of curve that goes over here like this. It's kind of big shape, and ends about there where we started. And then going to draw a pupil here, kind of on the inside, but fairly high up the eye. And now we need to do the eye on the other side, and it's pretty much the same thing. Try and get it as similar a shape as you can. So again, we're going to do that kind of bunched up shape there that floats over the mouth and near the nose, and then we'll curve up and over like this, and then down to there. And again, we're going to have a pupil, and this time it's on the other side of the head, so we kind of get this impression that he's looking straight at us. If you're not happy with the shape of the position of the pupils, rather, you can always get your eraser, because we are working with a pencil at the moment. You can always kind of erase that, and if you want, you can draw one of the pupils over there. So now he's looking over this way. So maybe that's how I'll leave mine, I guess. So now we can draw in some ears. Now the ears, obviously either side of the head and on the upper part. So we'll draw a triangle sticking out like this. Cats are very triangular looking ears. And then the same on the other side. Down to about there. And then we'll just draw a smaller triangle inside each ear for the inner ear. Okay. So these are kind of classic ways of drawing a cartoon cat, really. This is very much taken from famous cartoon cats like Sylvester, and even this kind of flick of hair that I'm doing now, just a few spikes on top of the head. It's very kind of Disney-esque or Looney Tunes-esque, so if you want to draw those characters, these techniques are very transferable to those characters too. So just to finish off with the side of the head, it's looking a bit round, so I'm going to draw a couple of spikes of fur just kind of sticking out there, and then we'll bring it back down to where his chin is, like that. So we're going to do the same on the other side, because he's looking a bit trimmed on that side, isn't he? So a couple of spikes sticking out, and then bring it down to his chin. Now DC wears a red neckerchief, so we'll draw that in now. If we start about here, we're going to curve a line under the neck, and then it comes back in under the head like that. And once you've drawn that, we'll start here. We'll draw another line that curves in towards the chest, but it just stops there. And the same on the other side. We're going to curve it in over that shoulder there, and then stop. And then for the very bottom of the neckerchief, the handkerchief, just going to draw a line that curves down into a little dip like this, before coming back in and just, pardon me, going underneath this kind of part of his neckerchief here. So just get rid of that arrow there. We don't really need that. But what we could use behind this is a couple of pieces of cloth showing that the neckerchief is tied in place. So to do that, just to the side like this, I'm going to draw two small, almost like leaf shapes, and they're just going to be tucked in behind the neckerchief there. Maybe it's helpful if you just draw a crease going along the center of each of those, and immediately we've got this kind of place for the neckerchief to tie. So now we'll move on to the arms, because we might as well. So far we've only got sticks for the arms, so let's work on that. So either side of this guideline, we're just going to kind of follow the shape that we've drawn, but cut it off for the wrist. Okay, so you're just kind of adding some thickness to that line, really. You've already kind of drawn the shape of the arm in terms of the guideline kind of showing you where the arm's going to go, and we're just adding a bit of thickness now so that it actually looks like an arm and not just a stick. And now where each wrist is, DC wears gloves. Again, very akin to Disney characters like Mickey Mouse, for instance. So we'll draw a bundle of cloth here, wrapped around the wrist, and the same on this side. It's just a kind of sausage shape that just kind of sits around the wrist like that. And now to draw those hands. Hands, my perpetual nemesis, I think. So I'm going to put my tutorial up here as usual on how to draw hands, but I'm going to quickly give you a crash course in it now. So a great way to draw hands, I think, is to start with the thumb. So we'll start up here. The thumb curves up like this, give it a nice kind of thick rounded shape, and then a bump like that right where the palm's going to be. So immediately we've got this thumb, and we've got this almost kind of like a bulge where the thumb joins in with the hand. And once you've drawn that, the rest of it is fairly straightforward. I say that, hands are never particularly straightforward, definitely the hardest part of any character to draw. But we'll just draw 3 sausages like this. A cartoon character, so he doesn't really need all 4 fingers. We can get away with just drawing 3 for the sake of simplicity. And then we'll just kind of link it back in with the wrist there. So if I went too fast, don't worry, because I am about to do that again right here. So again, I'm going to start with a thumb that just kind of comes away. Has kind of a thick shape. The thumb is thicker than the fingers, so try and get that across in your drawing if you can for extra points. And now for those 3 open fingers, 1, 2, and 3. You might struggle to get the right kind of length or width for your fingers here, but don't worry, you can try as much as you like because you're working with a pencil, and practice makes perfect on these things, it really, really does. So with that out of the way, we're actually through definitely the most difficult part of this drawing, and the rest of it's quite easy, to be honest. So down here we're going to have where his legs separate, so I'm going to draw a small curve across here, Okay, and if it's helpful at this point, if you want to get your eraser, you can actually get rid of some guidelines now. So I'm going to show you which ones we can get rid of. We can get rid of this bit where it crosses over, so we don't need that anymore, because all that was there for was to show us how wide we're going to make the hips. And here, we can get rid of this one as well, because the legs end right where we drew that curve. Okay, so if there's any other guidelines you want to get rid of at this point, feel free, but I find it's always best to do that once you've gone over the whole drawing with a pen. So we'll draw in his pattern. He's got a Felix pattern. He's black and white. So just a few spikes on the chest, and then we'll curve it down between his legs like that. So again on the other side, coming down from underneath that neckerchief, 1, 2, and 3, just for the sake of symmetry. And we'll just curve it down, just like that. Now, I guess actually there's a couple of other guidelines we could get rid of here. We don't need this here, and we don't need that there. It's kind of showing, it kind of looked like his feet were hanging off there, so might as well tidy that up. So we'll add a small curve here on his foot for a toe, and the same on the other side. And at this point, if you want to start rounding out the shapes a bit, just to make him look a bit more cartoony, be my guest and I'll show you what I mean by that. So we can see here, this is a bit pointy, isn't it? Well, with your pencil you can just kind of guide that line down now. You can kind of soften it out, curve it under for the toe. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, so we can kind of curve this over, like that, just kind of softening the shapes. The hips here are a bit sharp, so just going to use my pencil to just kind of round them off very, very gently. It really, all it does is remind me to draw it properly when I go over it with a pen and not treat it as a guideline anymore. So he's actually missing his tail, so we can add that in last. Now his tail obviously is behind him, so strictly speaking the tail is optional. It could be, if I just draw a dotted line to show you, it could start around here and it would be curving behind him like this. But I don't want to do that. I want to show you guys how to draw a tail. So let's do that here. Let's have it coming down. If we imagine it starting here at the back of his body and it's coming down to about here, I'm going to draw a guideline, give it a bit of a curve just so it has some character, like that. Okay, and that's kind of wire tail, and we're going to do the same with the tail that we did with the arms. We've drawn the guideline first, this inner bit here, we drew this first, and then we're going to add some kind of meat on the bone, so to speak. So around this I'm going to draw the shape of the tail. Not going to cross over the guideline, just going to kind of go around it. I'm going to make it thicker at the end of the tail, so it's going to be like this thick. And to achieve that, I'm going to give it a few tufts of fur, just to kind of show it's a bit messy. Okay, and then I'm going to carry on to draw the rest of the shape of the tail. And just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to get rid of this guideline, and straight away we've got a drawing of a tail, just kind of flicking up behind him. So our sketch of DC is already done. That was quicker than some of the other tutorials we've done, but it's a very simple design. Get your Sharpie out, and we're going to go over all the lines we want to keep. Make sure you don't go over any of those guidelines. We don't want to keep any of those. Like we don't need this anymore, for example. But yeah, get your Sharpies ready. Go over the lines you want to keep, and you'll end up with your very own drawing of DC. Go carefully over your sketch with your Sharpie. This is a great time to check for any last mistakes in the sketch as you go and fix them before you finish your drawing. And there he is, the feline mascot of the show, DC, in all his glory. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Don't forget that you can now share your artwork in my Discord channel. Hit the link in the description below to join and start sharing right away. Remember to like and subscribe for more tutorials. Until next time.